All right, give it up for Susan. What a good intro. Good morning and welcome to Wednesday. I'm so glad to be here with you, and I only hope I can share as much as I have learned in my time since BGM in 2010 with you. And my goal is to help make you successful in any way I can, give you some new perspectives, and really share my story. Because just like Susan shared, my company name is Inspire, like the word inspire, but with a Megan twist. And I think a lot of that comes from hearing someone else's story, because I sat there in their seats in 2010 and I came back in 2017 in between jobs. I know how hard it is. I know how the world values what job do you have is normally the first question people ask you when they come in and you meet someone new. Hey, what do you do? And when you don't have a job, what do you say? I remember sitting in that seat thinking, what's my value? Am I worth anything now? Because I don't have this job to make me feel validated and the world appreciates it. And so today I wanted to take time to give back to you because you're on your way. There are great things coming. And so if it's okay with you, I will share stories and 3 key topics that I'll talk about with stepping through fear, which is why you'll see that picture up there. Because no matter where I've traveled around the world, I was blessed to have an international training and traveling job for 5 years. And that's where a lot of my travel came from. Before then, I was from Katy, Texas, only went to Disney World and Las Vegas. That's about it. Anywhere in Texas, but you know how large the state is, so it was never another state. But what I'd like to do is share how I've stepped through fear, because as a new business owner, you learn a lot about who you are and what your journey's been so you can figure out where to go, which I'm sure you're going through right now. You're figuring out, what is my values? What do I want to find in a company? What do I want to do next? And how does that support your family? And so there's a lot of stepping through fear to do that. And that's what I've learned as I spent this year launching my website and doing new things and working with clients. They ask you, hey, so what are your values? That is a real question. And until you figure those out, a lot of times it's harder to just sit and explain them in succinct, short words. And so stepping through fear to figure that out, I've had a whole career of that. And as I talk through my story, my hope is that you'll see parallels to your life. And then we're going to talk about how you apply this. It's not just enough to talk about my stories. It's not all about me. My goal is to share and sacrifice my embarrassing stories so that you can learn and see you're not alone. I've sat in your steps or in your chair, and I've walked the steps out of here into some great opportunities that were scary. So we're going to talk a lot about different things, including my very last thing I said. So at BJM, everybody does the I got a job dance, right? They still do it because I was here in the summer. And that's the high honor. So I stood at the stage. It was actually in that room. There's 4 of us. I went second, and I gave this speech that just kind of poured out of me. And I actually got a job as a Texas Tech recruiter here in Houston. And I was so excited, and my mom was with me. So I just graduated college in 2010, and I was sitting next to her because she was helping me get involved and helping me get traction of trying to figure out what to do with my degree. And I was lost, super depressed. And so she sat next to me that day, and it was time for all of the people that got a job to go up front. So I did, and as I exited, I scooted down the aisles, and I walked by her, and she said, remember, they don't have a job, okay? So you can be excited, but not everybody here has that yet. And I thought, oh, the great point. So in my 10-second walk to the front of the sanctuary out there, the whole thing in my head flipped about what I was going to share. And instead of all this grandiose, so exciting things I was headed to, instead, I actually shared what I did to get through the struggle because it was so real. I told the audience that I got a kitten and made the whole group laugh because I just couldn't find happiness and I was struggling to figure my life out. And then this job came along, and this quote is the last thing I said. When you come to the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang on. And it's from Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And that was the last thing I said there. So that's what I'm starting today with, because no matter where you are, if you have a job or if you're looking for a job, you're still hanging on to change, family life, there are health concerns going on, there are bills, there's a lot. So my piece to pick up from is tie a knot and hang on, and here's how I did that.